have a story of a young woman by the name of Erica Langhart. Her story made international news. I babysat her as a little girl, and later she was under my care as a patient. And she was so like wanting the easy pill of take the pill for her PCOS, and yet lived, a grown-up woman, made her own choices. And when her parents were called to come out on Thanksgiving Day to Washington, D.C., where she was working as, as a lobbyist, like working in the political system, like her lifelong dream. Her parents had to go out and unplug her life support on Thanksgiving Day. Oh. And they ended up winning a $100 million settlement from Merck. And they refused it because they said, we don't want your effing money. We want you to change this. Right. Erica died from the NuvaRing. And there are thousands and thousands of young women who've died from this. And yet, had they done some simple testing, in fact, women with polycystic ovarian syndrome already have problems with their clotting cascade. And so they aren't good candidates. And what's the first thing we do for PCOS is we put those women on birth control, whether it's through the NuvaRing, whether it's
to manage their symptoms.
And that's what was crazy is while she was still in high school and living at home, her symptoms were perfection. But when she moved off out of the home, was in DC, working late nights, drinking, eating differently, to do the job that she was passionate about, she got away from the diet and the lifestyle and the environment that she needed to take care of her body. And so when her symptoms started flaring, she defaulted to the script pad. She stopped asking the questions of the why, and it devastated an entire family. Her mother would take her life a few years after that lawsuit, and her father just died this past Christmas, completely unknown, just quietly. And it's affected all of us, the people who grew up in our small town around them, the massive news that it made. And it's like they wanted to leave a legacy to say never again to anybody else's daughter or sister or, best friend. And yet in our culture, we're so quick to write these scripts that I'm a little taken back by how, when I started in medical school, in naturopathic school, mind you, we were some of the early adopters being taught bioidentical hormones. The standard of care world was absolutely no, you people are crazy, you're quacks. And we were all learning it, being trained, being, courted by the compounding pharmacies, the big name ones that are out there. And we all learned it. But in my training in naturopathic school in the early 90s, we were still coming from what I call like the OG naturopathy, where we were still being taught terrain forward first, and to ask the questions of, do we need this to replace a function, or should we look under deeper to restore a function? And my ethos, my philosophy, my training, and my mentorships all taught me about restoration of function. It also happened when I went into private practice. I was in an unlicensed state of Colorado at that time, in a small town under the scrutiny of my local medical community. There was no way I was ever going to write a script for anything, even though I had the legal right to do so. And so as such, I had to learn how to restore function and not replace it. And in the 17 years I had my private practice, 80% of that practice being women, and 80% of those women coming into me for some sort of hormonal or endocrine dysfunction at the root of their concerns, I didn't have the luxury of a script pad. And what was the best gift for me is I learned how to restore the function and correct those imbalances without the need for exogenous support, and got women pregnant, got women's endometriosis and PCOS under control, got women through, menopause beautifully, their osteoporosis or osteopenia, their heart issues, their brain fog, their libido problems, their vaginal dryness, their UTIs. I didn't have to use the script pad for that.